I needed to send you the ad I got targeted with this morning.
Oh, my favorite sentence. Oh my goodness. I need one for everything. An inflatable arm tube, man. This looks like it would be huge.
It is. I had to click on the ad because I needed to know if they were selling me an inflatable arm tube man that's like desk sized.
Like you plug in your computer.
Right, like something like that. No. This is like a lawn one that is 8 feet tall. It's $110.
That's actually a steal.
I agree.
I would pay more. I would.
Right. I'd never felt more targeted than this ad.
I like that it has eye blacks.
Yeah. I really needed to share before we started because it didn't feel real this morning.
No, that's definitely fever dream energy. That's definitely like a potential like sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah. But also
I put it away. I want it. But also I want one. But I also don't want it to look at me too long.
Recording from New York and Los Angeles, your hosts, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein, are emerging from the tunnel for this week's show. Another sports show is ready to broadcast to you on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Before we kick off, please leave us a podcast review and YouTube comment. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. Today on another sports show.
Nicole, are you feeling any Olympic withdrawals in your life yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's really hard to not be able to just turn on, random synchronized diving or artistic swimming or gymnastics at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's really been painful, which is why I am incredibly excited that on this week's show, we're going to be previewing the Paralympics. Because beginning August 28th, we can all be sports addicts again and just constantly have something to turn on in the middle of our work days. So today on the show, Nicole's going to be previewing the biggest headlines of the Paralympics to get us all prepped going into it the same way she did with the Olympics. We also are doing a full rendition of the Broad Street versus Broadway segment. We're going to talk about the biggest storylines in New York and in Philly sports, with a little bit of competitiveness baked in there, of course. It was Players Weekend this weekend in the MLB, so of course we had to give you our podiums of our favorite bats and cleats and just personal flair that all the players brought. But don't worry, MLB Series of the Week returns. If you missed Voiceover Man singing our rendition of Take Me Out to the Ballgame, it is back in the show this week. Don't worry. We're going to give you our takeaways of last week's Series of the Week, which, by the way, even though we didn't put it on the show, we always put out on our social media, so there was a Series of the Week. So we're going to talk about those and then give you this week's predictions from Nicole, who's honestly becoming a baseball, master. Or even if not that, Nicole texts me about baseball now, which has honestly been the goal of this series as a whole. Is I wanted Nicole to watch baseball, and she's watching baseball. It's great. And the Phillies don't suck, which means we actually have a daycare moment this week. Woo! I know everyone's real hyped. And then last but definitely not least, we continue our NFL season preview with the AFC South. After this, we only have 2 more divisions to go, which means it is nearly football season and we cannot contain our excitement. But we're going to give you that preview on the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Tennessee Titans. And if you kind of roll your eyes about, that sounds like a boring division, I promise you our preview won't be boring because there's a lot to say about all of these teams because they are all trying to win, and I don't think a lot of them are set up to, which is going to lead to fun drama and excitement. And with that, take it away, voiceover man.
It's another sports show, but it's not Broad Street versus Broadway. But is it really a debate? Because voiceover man is Team Broad Street, and that makes the vote 2-1 on this show. Let's go, birds.
I always forget when we're recording this segment that it gets introduced by voiceover man saying go birds.
It's actually 3-1, so go birds. All right, voiceover man, you sass. It's fine. It's great. It's cool. It's unfair, but okay.
Yeah. We're a week late on this because last week we had to do a mega Olympics episode, and then there was so much to talk about on NFL season previews on the already bonus Friday episode. But we're finally getting to like a storyline that made me cry last week.
Yeah, there was definitely this was never something that was going to get skipped over on this show. So some big news for Philly fans everywhere. Do you want to say it? Do you need me to say it? Like Nick Foles has announced that he is retiring.
Yeah. Oh, and he's retiring as a Philly. It's going to be the home opener game that they're going to do a whole retirement ceremony for him. I am pretty sure they're going to retire his number. Here's some real niche Philly stuff. So pass rusher Josh Sweat felt like he wanted a new number to just. Disclaimer, by the way, I am watching the Phillies game right now. So if you're watching on YouTube and you see my eyes skew and I get distracted, that's why. Sorry. Josh Sweat, who's one of our pass rushers, he wanted a new number this year just to like change things up for funsies, and he did ask for 9, and the Phillies organization said, "No, we're not giving that one out anymore." And he like kind of said that to reporters, like, "Yeah, they're not giving anyone 9, so I went with blank." And I actually forget what he's going with this year. I'll remember it by the time the season starts in a couple weeks. So it just made me incredibly emotional because people like Nick Foles don't really happen. Normally when your team wins a Super Bowl, it's because there's like you have an incredible quarterback already. Like what happened in that Eagles season with that incredible team, and then Nick Foles coming in when Carson Wentz goes down and having the greatest stretch of games he's ever played in his entire career, ending with being better than Tom Brady in the Super Bowl and winning the Eagles' first and only Super Bowl is just... It is like romantic and makes me cry. And he is the face of that Super Bowl and that run, and everything that made them underdogs was because of Nick Foles. And he obviously didn't end his career in Philly. And also it was incredible because it was the second stint he had in Philly. But it's just...
it's going to be an emotional kickoff to the season for sure.
Yeah. I hope the Eagles are good so I can actually care about this. But yeah, I mean, and it's going to be the Monday Night Football game, so Jason Kelce's going to be in town. And, there's not a lot of people left on the Eagles team who are still on the Super Bowl run, but I know they're going to bring them all in for it. The Eagles do this stuff really well. And I think part of it is because we don't have a lot of opportunities to do stuff like this.
So when you do it, you got to do it right and do it big.
Yeah. I think the last big one like this was Doc, which really was emotional because Brian Dawkins is like my favorite player from like childhood Eagles watching. So I'm forever upset at the Eagles for not winning a Super Bowl in that era. Like Brian Dawkins deserves a Super Bowl more than anyone I know. It's like so okay. But I can't get too Eagles niche. This is going to be something that we keep talking about until the official retirement ceremony because it's something that's really emotional. Like there's a reason that the Sports Illustrated cover of that win sits behind me on this set. Like that's like the Eagles Super Bowl is the only time in my life I've seen my dad cry. My dad cried. He genuinely thought that he was going to die before he got to see an Eagles Super Bowl. Like it just was like, I was living in Miami at the time and flew in for the Super Bowl to make sure to watch it with my family. Like the Eagles are family. Like that's like, so I'm going to get too emotional. So, but I think
that was watching you experience that from the outside was like a crazy wild thing. So yeah, definitely it's a big coming full circle type moment to really reflect on it.
I don't think I did a good job explaining, but I think I did a good job explaining my emotions, but I think it's really cool that he's going to retire as an Eagle, signing that one-day contract, and that they're going to bring him back, and it's going to be this big moment because, what happened with Nick Foles is weird, but so uniquely Philly and special, so I love it.
Philly special.
Oh, that was an accident. Also, Bud Light, if you want to send me a case of the special Philly special beer you're bringing back, I really, really want it. And like, if anyone is listening to this and you live in Philadelphia and when they put it in stores, like I desperately need it and it needs to go right here on the set, and I will drink it, and I'll promote it, and I'll do what I like. If you want,
what do you want?
Amy, like, please. There are very few things that I'm like, brands, please send me a thing, please, I need it. I will pay for it. I don't need it for free. No, I just
need it in California.
Yes, I live in California, and it's really hard for me to get special edition Philly things, and I really want it. Okay, but what is this like from, besides like you as my friend, like what is it like watching a figure like Nick Foles retire and seeing like Eagles fans and what that means to them emotionally? Like what's that like from the outside perspective?
So like the joke, I think it's from The Office, or it's like, wow, I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one day. And that's how I feel as like a fan of all of the teams that I root for. Like hopefully eventually maybe we will have this beautiful romantic of a sports story to have someone then come back to and like retire greatly. I think the closest I've ever have to like witnessing this actually is like David Wright, I guess, or like Mike Piazza when I was like younger, but like it's not this, it doesn't feel the same. I hopefully one day will have this type of like magical, beautiful experience like with the Islanders, because like I love these types of stories, and I think like I personally will love to watch this entire retirement ceremony and all the special things that go on with it, because it's sports and it's historic and it's so great. I just really want one day it to apply to me and it not be like a situation of all of the players that I like just get too old and then like disappear. I am Josh Bailey's #1 fan. I have been since like 2008, and basically just was like traded to the Blackhawks and then kind of to Ottawa, and then like was never like, that was it. Like there was no official like announcement. There was
like
no
the Islanders
retirement.
don't
like
bring back players to like because obviously Nick Foles hasn't played for the Eagles in ages, but like yeah, of course, like he like but you like bring him back, you play,
but there's players to come back, like that, like big player. We don't have big players that leave somewhere and then come back to be celebrated. Like John Tavares left and he comes back and is like the traitor. Like there has not been a big win to celebrate. And like when they do bring back like the greats, it's like, yeah, it's the greats from like 1980, which is incredible, which is wonderful, which is great. I just was not alive for this to happen. Their numbers have been retired for an incredibly long time. So like, again, I know this will hopefully one day happen, but I see it. And I love to experience, but I want to experience it for myself one day. And like, no, right now I'm living in the world where like, Islanders owner Lou's talking about they're likely moving on from like Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck. And like, yes, they're older. They're not the young people that we need. And it's very sad, but like, I want a Stanley Cup and I want to be able to celebrate the players that I love. And instead they all just get really old and I don't get any fun ceremonies ever. So I'm sad for the sadness of maybe this will just never happen. I'm like your dad of like, maybe I'll just never exist in the world where any of the teams that I have win a championship. And it'd be really nice one day. I hope so.
As a fan of franchises that don't win a lot as well, like, yeah, the Eagles finally won that Super Bowl, and like, whew, it took the weight off my shoulders a lot for that to finally happen.
Just give me one.
Yeah, see, I said that for most of my life, and then 2022 happened, and I'm like, oh no, I need more than one. I need more than one in my life.
I would be a horrible person if my teams were good. I'd be a horrible person if my teams were good.
You've had to suffer through the Phillies being as good as they are this year. Like, I know I'm a nightmare when my teams are good, but I think I'm a bigger nightmare when my teams are bad and losing. But
yeah, I think it all depends. It all can go back and forth. But my point is, we'll have a great one day.
Yeah, as a person who's rooted for teams that have mostly been bad for a long time, like what is shocking to me is that you haven't had moments like the Brian Dawkins moment. Like Dawkins, like those Eagles teams were good enough, and Dawkins is important enough to the city that of course you have the big ceremony and you bring him back and you have the things. Like that's what's baffling to me, is that there's still not players that are like that for your teams.
Yeah. Again, it's really fun time being in New York. Good time. Go me.
I will say it again. You could have picked the Yankees.
I know, because I'm also sitting here right now being like, yeah, there's like an entire thing for Jeter, and I've made my bed and now I lie in it, and these are the things that I have to live with and the way that I am. So, our next topic of conversation wouldn't even necessarily make me feel much better, because now we're moving on to football. Like, I usually am a lot better with my segues on things, but I could not even, like, I just, like, great. So now we're going to talk about, like, the Jets. And, but we could go to Philly World first.
Okay. I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest headline coming out of Eagles training camp, and the most important thing was who is going to be the right guard. You all on this show have heard me talk for weeks about how important offensive line is and how great the Eagles offensive line is, and it will be. But the question has been who's going to be right guard, because here's some real niche information that people wouldn't know unless you're an Eagles fan, but I find it fascinating. So, Jason Kelce retires, which means Cam Jurgens, who was drafted as a center, who last year spent his time at right guard, finally gets to move over and be the center. So who's going to be the right guard? And coming into camp, the overarching favorite was Tyler Steen. It was going to be Steen. And guess who it actually is? It's Becton. Becton won the job.
Not Steen.
Not Steen. I'm bringing up this for a reason with you, because like most people in the world don't care who's going to be the starting right guard of the Philadelphia Eagles, except for like sickos like me. So like, yeah, Mekhi Becton, cool. Glad, I had no horse in the race. I just wanted the best player to win. I wanted someone to be good enough and play right guard and not be a disaster. The reason I'm bringing this up is because guess where he played last year?
Where did he play last year?
You want to make a guess?
Is it maybe the Jets?
Yes.
Wow. That feels so good for me.
So he signed with the Eagles in free agency this year, and he was good enough to beat out the like long touted next right guard in Steen. Now, here's where I land on this. Either the Jets really don't know what they're doing by letting this guy go, or right guard is going to be worse than I thought coming into this season, because it doesn't make me feel good as an Eagles fan that our right guard came from the Jets retread.
Yeah.
So, like, the linchpin of our defensive line's, like, high ceiling is we signed Huff as a defensive line from the Jets, and that was our big defensive free agency signing. And basically, the Jets were only using him as a pass rusher, so he was only a one-down lineman, and the Eagles are making the bet that they think he's skilled enough to be able to stop the run and play most downs. And our big, he's clearly going to be the worst member of the offensive line, but the linchpin, who's creating the floor of the Eagles offensive line is an offensive lineman that the Jets didn't like. I'm stressed. We did a whole segment last week where I was like, I don't like mentioning the Eagles in the same breath as the Jets.
And, then we can continue it, because there's also the fun little piece for the Jets where Haason Reddick is definitely supposed to be an integral part of defense this year, and requested a trade, and the Jets are like, nah, and Aaron Rodgers is just, doing what he does and speaking to the press and is like, you should come play if you want to have fun, and because we're gonna win. And it's like, Aaron, no one, go away. The stress that I have on this,
something's gonna be fun. My gut reaction is not to believe.
He's like, it's gonna be a ball. It's so not actual. Every headline of Aaron Rodgers weighs on Haason Reddick, requesting trade, and it's not a helpful quote at all.
I just want to be clear that the only reason the Eagles were trading Reddick this year is because Reddick said that he was going to hold out unless he gets X contract, whatever that number was. The Eagles said, we're not willing to pay you that. That's great. And he said, cool, can you trade me somewhere else? Literally, the Jets had conversations with Reddick, and they said, here's the contract that we're offering you. And Reddick said, I will not sign that contract. Then the Jets did the deal with the Eagles anyway, knowing this, what, did you think you were going to, be able to convince him?
It's very interesting. It definitely, at this point, feels like this may ride into the regular season. It's we're going to be $1 million worth of fines. I don't know. And then, again, this is, past at the point of, strong arming where, no one wins, or, I don't know. It just gets, it's only going to be ugly, I guess.
It only just makes the Jets look bad.
Yeah, everyone looks really stupid, and here I am, sitting here. Wow, it's a rough Broadway day today.
The final subject we have to talk about in Broad Street versus Broadway this week is talking about positively for your team.
I think
the Mets have been doing well.
The Mets are like okay.
Yeah.
And it's been like a pretty okay split since coming back from All-Star break, which feels like it's been a year. In my newly found admiration and enjoyment of baseball, I don't understand at what point I can be like, okay, it's done. Like, I know for the White Sox, it's like, okay, you've had historically...
Well, now it's officially done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, like, actually done. But, like, at what point do I guess it's still fair for me to have hope alive for October things. As things happen for the Phillies. Live
Trey
in
Turner
action.
hit a home run. This is the most New York Mets fan question you've ever asked me, where you're like, when can it be over versus like, how do I root for them to make the playoffs? Like, right now.
I mean, it's kind of both. I'm just more preparing myself for the over part than for like, especially when I'm like basically looking at the Braves as enemy number one. Like,
but this isn't the Braves. This is a shell of the Braves we're looking at. The Braves are not good this year. Like, they are missing so many crucial players. The Mets are currently only one game back of the wild card spot that the Braves currently hold. So you're one game back of the Braves. That's nothing. There's so much baseball left to be played. The last 10 games, both the Braves and the Mets are 5-5. So the way I am not counting the Mets out. I'm still in the stage where like the Mets could surprise us, like for sure. This is not the normal. Like I can't harp on enough that this is not the Braves of all the Braves years past that we're looking at. Like, if I had to put like
still be the Mets is what
right. Now I think if I was looking at a pie of like who's gonna make it, I would be like 60-40 Braves Mets, but that's not where I would have put this like 2 months ago. So I would just like, if the way I look at baseball and that I find sane is that, and we do this with our MLB Series of the week for a reason. Like, I look at series, and as long as the Mets are not getting swept in series, you're going to be in a great position that when we get to crunch time, I think they'll be okay. So like, be watching, like, and then I wouldn't, as long as they don't get like 4 or 5 games back, even that though, but like, I would say like if they stay within like 3 games of the Braves and they're not being swept in series, you should be like, okay, they're putting themselves in a good position at the final stretch to make a run for it.
Daycare moment of the week.
Oh boy. What's in the water? What's in the water? Daycare, Phillies, daycare. Okay, I don't know. I can't tell what any of those things is. Sunflower seeds, as always. Yeah. What was everything else?
Wait, are you listening with the sound on?
Oh, that would probably help be louder. Also, has the Phillies daycare moment always been sponsored by Smart Water? That's
nope,
new.
That's what I wanted to talk about. But watch the thing with sound on, because it's also a great moment. I want to talk about the fact that Trey Turner could feel it coming. This was Trey Turner's daycare moment after he hit his walk-off hit on Friday night against the Nationals. I blanked on what day of the week we were talking about here is what I...
What's today?
And then he gets doused in, I think, the most water of the season. It was all sunflower seeds in there.
It's a lot of sunflower seeds.
My favorite was the shit on broadcast TV that he just couldn't control himself. So the cursing on broadcast, they're normally much better at it than that. So I appreciated the real moment. And then Brandon Marsh taking the whole cord with him and Trey going, I can't take you anywhere. But yes, no, I really picked this one because I went, oh my gosh, it's sponsored now. So yeah, Smart Water is now sponsoring the Phillies post-game celebration daycare moment.
Genius.
It is so genius. And I think it's incredible that like all the teams do this. Like, this is not something special to the Phillies that they celebrate with the person getting interviewed at the end of the game. I just can't believe they've been able to brand this moment so much that the Phillies team, like, people care about this so much that on our show, I show one to you weekly. I purposely, I don't turn off the game when it's over. I listen to the boring post-game interview to wait for the daycare moment. There's enough people like me doing that. They were able to sell a sponsor for the moment. It's crazy.
Incredible. That's how many eyes that, just got to hear that meeting. That pitch meeting had to be fantastic. She hit record and left. She left me.
I'm so sorry.
All by myself.
As always, we're recording on Sunday, but when you're listening to this, Players Weekend is over. Wah, wah, wah. But I really want to discuss the concept of Players Weekend. Because
so fun.
It is so fun. I am so excited about this. But if the whole concept of Players Weekend is for 3 days, players get to show us their personality with fun bats, why can't every day be Players Weekend? I don't understand the concept that we can only have fun bats sometimes.
It's like the special allotted. It kind of feels like back in high school when sports teams would do like a senior game, or it would be like the breast cancer game where like everyone gets to wear pink for like this one thing. And it's like, well, why can't we just kind of like always be fun? What's wrong with all of the super fun all of the time?
Right.
Like this could be great. And it's particularly with baseball, it would really work because you're just being bats, cleats, hats, same thing. Make them look pretty, not like it's a crazy like additional concept.
So I can rationalize in my brain why they don't want to do crazy cleats or have like the catcher's gear be different all the time because you want to look like a uniform. Like, I get that. But the bats, to me, I'm like, this is fun. Why can't we always have fun? Which is, for a long time, has been the question with baseball, is this is fun. Why can't it always be fun? But
this is fun. It's like extra special fun. It felt like just silly, goofy fun. I want the same thing to be translated into like hockey. Like I want fun, like custom sticks and skates and like helmets. Like I want like a players weekend in other sports. No fun league NFL. I would be
well. The NFL does do this. They have the Your Cause, Your Cleats week.
Oh, right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is
the NHL, I've been saying for ages that there's no reason that only the goalie should be able to have fun with their helmets. Everyone wears helmets. Everyone should be able to have fun custom helmets.
Yeah. Yep. But apparently trying to limit the fun. So maybe we can limit the fun to at least one weekend and then see how much actual fun that it is. But yeah, I feel like it should at least be like a monthly thing. Like there should be like one weekend where it's like, oh, this is extra super fun. The profitability is endless. This is the other thing that I don't understand is like this type of like event could just like people give me money for like take my money for special things.
Okay, I didn't look this up beforehand, but you know how in F1 when they have custom one-off helmets, they then sell the helmet? I haven't seen anything about like being able to buy. Well, I know that the like non-custom ones you can buy, like Victus just sells the pencil bat,
right? And
you can just buy it. But I want to be able to buy some of the things that are on the podium that I don't want to spoil right now with saying. So maybe we should do the podiums and circle back to this conversation.
I think that's a good idea because we don't want to give out the examples of which ones.
Right. So I have a podium of just my favorite things from Players Weekend, period. And I know you have 2 podiums because you have a bat podium and a cleat podium.
Get to pick more, less decisions. And it was still hard.
And at the end, we're just going to shout out anything that was not mentioned that we need to talk about because there's so much on here. Okay, should we do my blended one first and then?
Yes, we can do your blended and then we'll do my separated.
Like always, my podium is my favorite things from Players Weekend, just based on my personal preference and how much I squealed when I saw it.
In P3.
Brandon Marsh, Stay Loose and Sexy. The fact that Brandon Marsh has a bat of his own face and his catchphrase for the season, which is "Stay Loose and Sexy," the photo of him next to him on the bat, it was perfect. I loved it so much.
That is the definition of custom. Like nothing gets more custom than just like, here's a cartoon rendition of your own face on your bat.
It's incredible.
In P2.
Shohei Ohtani's decoy cleats, which is his dog. Yes, I know, shocker, it's not a Philly. But, like, I love these. I also just love Shohei Ohtani's commitment this season to just tell everyone how much he loves his dog. So the fact that it was, like, inside his all-star jacket and now on his cleats. And it's like, yeah, I love my dog that much, too.
He's just a dog dad. Big dog dad energy.
In P1.
Trey Turner's custom backyard baseball bat. I have to read the custom blurb on this bat because, well, first, Nicole, did you play backyard baseball?
I sat adjacent to male cousins that very much played backyard baseball and didn't want to share, so I'm aware of the backyard baseball lore and things.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, like, you were in the know of, like, backyard baseball. Because there were other people who had backyard baseball bats, but I love that Trey Turner's was custom. It had, like, his stat rankings and everything, but my favorite was the blurb. So his nickname is TVD, and it goes, "Meet Trey, the speedster from Boynton Beach. This young dynamo is a natural shortstop with lightning-fast reflexes and a love for stealing bases. Many of the game give him credit for the smoothest slide in baseball, but they'll never let him know that." And that's just incredible copywriting. I will insert a video here right now of Trey Turner's slide because it is the smoothest slide in baseball. I would say my summary of the Phillies Players Weekend is they get the inside jokes we all make about them, and then they made stuff about it. And I love that.
They're also, I mean, perfect timing, related, not related, like teasing backyard baseball making a return. Yeah. And at the time of recording, it is Juan Pablo from Backyard Baseball's birthday. So happy birthday. But
okay, so here's the thing. Like, some of the fun of backyard baseball, though, is that it was incredibly broken on game balance. Right. So I don't know. As
don't
excited
fix it.
As I
just like bring it back broken.
Yeah, like, I don't know how much I actually want them to bring back backyard baseball because I like my nostalgic memory of backyard baseball. But that being said, like, I can see everyone who got excited about the NCAA game, and I can acknowledge and be happy for them. But, like, I would be super hyped and I would have to buy it for backyard baseball.
Yeah, have to give it a shot. But also, yeah, shout out to the Phillies for, like, really getting the inside joke and, like, leaning into it fully. Like, from Daycare to, like, everything.
Right. My younger brother really kicked my butt on backyard baseball for years. That's really what my memory is. I had so much fun, though.
But don't bring that back.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to start with bats or cleats? Because I'm hyped to hear your podium.
Oh, God. Again, the hardest podium to ever podium, so I literally made 2 of them. I'm going to start with bats. Because bats,
okay,
the big bat energy, so we're going to start with bats. So my favorite bats from MLB Players Weekend.
In P3.
Volpe's double bubble bat. Double bubble, great baseball call, and, like, I just love that it says grip it and, like, rip it. Where
I was gonna say, I think you, like, undersold the bat. Like, yeah, the best part is the grip it and rip it.
Yes, the grip it and rip it. It's just, like, perfect, like, personalization touch while also being, like, a great nod to baseball because it's undeniably like that wrapper. But yeah, grip it and rip it is, like, such a sick addition to that. Oh, these next 2 are so hard, and I literally was going back and forth on how to do this. But no, I know. Oh no, this is huge. You're gonna be flabbergasted.
In P2.
Michael Harris's Spider-Man bat. I know. Brianna's freaking out because now for process of elimination, she has figured out probably what my P1 is, and this is really big.
No, I'm freaking out also because, like, you and Spider-Man and, like, not putting Spider-Man P1 when, like, just, like, in our thread, I sent this earlier, and, like, when oh my God, I was, like, so sure this was going to be your P1.
I know, but big caveats on the P1. Big, I know. And it's all of the things. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is great. And also, like, his other bat was Woody from Toy Story. So, like, great on the nostalgia, like, type of thing. And they looked really great together with, like, the Western vibe and then the web vibe. But yeah, it's Parker's P1 for sure. Executive producer Parker definitely had that P1. But yeah, and
right, like if anyone needs any like when I'm like Nicole loves Spider-Man, her dog is literally named Peter Parker. Like, how is that not her P1 bat? Jeez.
I know. Well, now without further ado,
in P1,
the lightsaber bats. And there's like multiple, because it is one of the like token ones that everyone, but like Stout had one, Jackson Merrill had one. They glow in the dark. They glow in the dark, so cool. Glowing. Legitimately, if they did not glow in the dark, Spider-Man would have been P1. But as soon as I saw this glow in the dark, I'm like, that's it. Done. Can't be anything else. That is just too fun. Make a Spider-Man one that glows in the dark. So maybe then that's what's missing.
What if it became like the Venom suit in the dark? That would be sick.
See, now we're already designing better bats.
If the lightsaber one is so cool that if they start selling it, like they started to sell the pencil one, I will 1,000% buy one, and it will end up on my set somewhere behind me.
Just have a baseball bat, just
I hope they come up with a green version.
Yeah,
it would match my set better, but I would still buy the blue one. And
I was gonna say, if they do one, they would have to at least do blue, green, and red if they begin selling it, or else like what would be the point?
Purple would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cleats, and then I think we have to talk all the honorable mention bats that didn't get mentioned there.
So my favorite cleats from MLB Players Weekend
in P3.
Josh Jung from the Rangers Avengers cleats. They're white, they're sick. Again, I love Marvel superhero things. And then he had a Captain America bat tied with it, but his all Avengers cleats were like sick.
In P2.
Ohtani's dog cleats, which Briana just dove in on about like his love of decoy and everything. I love how it was a callback to his All-Star Game jacket. Also, proud dog dads. Dogs on cleats. Dogs on cleats.
Dogs on everything. Dogs as executive producers.
And here I am again, once again. Oh, what could something beat dogs? Oh my goodness. Well, here to tug on the heartstrings once again.
In P1.
Cincinnati Reds. From the Children's Hospital, all of the children's patients design their cleats.
Yeah,
just like unbelievably wholesome, and like then it's like they kind of all match, but obviously like don't match. But there's like a theme going throughout all of them. It's like just a really good, like, love those wholesome stories in sports. So clear P1 for me.
Well, speaking of wholesome stories, a couple of the things I mentioned on my honorable mention list fall into that category. One being Logan O'Hope of the Angels. His catching gear was completely drawn on by the local children's hospital. Freddie Freeman, all his bats were Max Strong bats for his son, who's been battling with cancer all season.
There were those cleats too that like
yeah, no, they're similarly wholesome, but like less sad. Bryce Harper's bats, 2 of his bats this year, he just had his kids draw all over them. And that was his custom bats this year.
I also love that those, like, the bats just say dad's bat, like, on it. It just so cute.
You can tell his kids are the ones who did it. There was like the way we used to all do our like S's on like our drawings, like, and then there's just like, you can tell his youngest just like scribbled through the whole thing, like, and then he's like walking in, he has so many bats for this weekend, but he just like chose those 2 to walk in, and he's holding them next to his face like, yay, my kids. I'm like, oh, adorable. Speaking of kids, both the members of the Phillies Daycare got Daycare bats, and I love them, and it really took everything in me to not put them on the podium, but there was too many other good things.
I was shocked the Daycare didn't make it on the podium.
The Daycare bats are the custom bats I actually want to buy. But the Stay Loose and Sexy Brandon Marsh bat is too good to not deserve a podium spot, but I don't really want Brandon Marsh's face behind me on this set. Right. I mean, like, I love the man, but, like, he has to win a World Series to warrant that. Like, Nick Foles is the face on this set right now because he's won a Super Bowl. Oh, and then the other Phillies one I put on this well, I guess there's two quick Phillies. One, Louisville Slugger made all of their bats way too complicated so they don't look good on screen. So I hate that I can't say that I liked the Schwarbaum bat, because if you told me that there was a bat that literally said Schwarbaum on it and I don't like it, I would have been so sad, and I am sad. But I do love Alec Boehm's giraffe bat. Did you see that one?
I did see that one. Yeah, that one was super cute.
Yeah, see, that was like so inside baseball that it was just inside Phillies baseball. Considering we just
leaked onto my feed because you've infected my feed with Philliesness.
I said at the top of this that I just love that the Phillies decided to make bats of all the things that we know. And like, so apparently everyone calls Alec Boehm like Rafi, or like a couple of people do, because it's like short and giraffe. And it's because he's 6'5" and a massive human. So he's just tall. And
Can I
like,
start calling my dad Rafi now? Like, just
yeah, I think so. And but like someone said that to the press, and then like the fans took that, and he was like, "Great, I'm gonna have a giraffe bat." Like, it's just like, of course. And then the only other thing I had on my honorable mention list that's worth talking about is not a Phillies thing, and it's De La Cruz's gingerbread cleats. They're so fun.
I loved them. They're super cute.
All right, anything on your honorable mention list?
Yeah, so you definitely, if in case there was like some kind of craziness where you didn't call out Bryce Harper's bat, that was definitely on my honorable mention. And the gingerbread cleats. I got to do a quick call out to Tyreek Scoobal's Scooby-Doo cleats. Like, it just, oh, they're so fun, so cute. And they're almost like simple, like a really sick, like Nike style shoe with then just like the characters on it. And last big final honorable mention, which is just the classic. I love giant writing utensils, pencils, or crayons.
Yeah.
They make the players look
fun.
like cartoon characters, and like it just looks so silly. So glad that that's like always a staple, because giant pencils just look really funny.
One of the backyard baseball bats I saw was Bobby Witt Jr.'s one, and he literally he made the bat into the character, and all I could think about the entire time is that he's hitting balls off this character's face.
Yeah, that kind of like I don't know. It like really changes the meaning of it.
It was a fun bat, but I
could say that about Marsh then too.
Oh, 100%. As we're recording this, Marsh didn't play Friday and Saturday, so like he's gonna play now, and I'm so excited for him to hit a ball off his own face. Brandon Marsh hit a home run off of the bat with his face on it, and it was as incredible as I predicted. Like, I'm not saying that is a negative of the bat. I think that is hysteria.
It's a different way to think about it.
Yeah, it just made me laugh. Did you take him out of the box and just put him back?
Well, he's in like, there's like a clear case.
Ooh, like fancy.
And then his box. So I that didn't feel good. I feel like I have to keep him in this because it arrived like that.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so nice. That's really... Are those your nails or are those fake nails?
Oh, they're fake. So fake. I put these on yesterday. Mostly for this content that I filmed this morning.
The unboxing content that we have slated for like short form right now is that unboxing of the Jason Kelce, the Flavor Flav Funko Pop, and the Will Levis mayo perfume that you ordered.
Yeah, the Ode to Mayonnaise.
Uh-huh.
Nicole predicts a ball game. Nicole predicts the series. Give her almost no info and stats. We don't care if she doesn't know bat. Let us root for her predictions. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out in our prediction game.
Baseball.
That's how we open this. Baseball. Happened.
Yeah, because we can't talk about mayo anymore. No, even though I like mayo, but like, mayo in your coffee.
No,
Okay.
it's so many. There will be like a full extended conversation about this when we can come full circle and I can have this nasty cologne sitting on my desk, or maybe nice. I don't know.
No, maybe it's nice. Well, either way, you just can't use it all up before I go visit you because I need to smell it in person.
I don't think that's gonna be possible, but I'll do my best.
You know what? Let me change that. You can't throw it out until I come visit you.
I can't use all of the mayo cologne before you get here. Okay, I'll do my best. I don't want to smell, I gotta, really smell like mayo, accord, and citrus.
I'm gonna cry. Okay, we gotta move on and talk about baseball.
Okay, so we're here to talk about the MLB Series of the Week that we didn't talk about last week on the show because last week was the Olympic special, so definitely go listen to that if you haven't. And then there was the extra special episode that was all NFL related, so we didn't have a moment to talk about the MLB, but now we are. But on our socials, we picked the series between the Dodgers and the Brewers and the Twins versus the Texans. And that's what you missed on Glee. So first we will start with the Dodgers and the Brewers. And I had predicted the Dodgers to win this series 3-1, which didn't happen, but they split the series. So I didn't fully lose, but I didn't fully win.
I thought your prediction of 3-1 Dodgers was a very strong prediction. This series had originally convinced me that, I knew the Brewers were good, but it convinced me that they could hang in the playoffs with some of the better teams at the top. Mm-hmm. And then Christian Yelich announced that he's ending his season with back surgery. So all of that optimism kind of went wah, wah, wah for me. I was going through the series. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited to talk about how the Brewers are fun. They're such a fun team. And they might do something in the playoffs. And then I was like, oh, all the gas got let out of that balloon real fast. So Twins, Texans.
As of right now.
I just said
Twins, Texans. Yeah, that's a transition. Other series, Twins, Texans. I got bold here. I don't like to predict.
Okay, I need to hold on. Twins, Rangers.
Twins, Rangers.
Okay. It's Texas words. Okay.
The Texas Rangers and the Minnesota Twins are the other series that we have to discuss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed this series. And fun. Disclaimer, we haven't watched the Sunday game yet because hasn't been on yet.
Psychic.
Yeah. But in our pre-production, I'm going to just say the same thing I said in pre-production, which is I really enjoyed all these games, but I really don't have much to say about it. And Nicole was like, I got you.
So my big takeaways from this series thus far. I currently have the Twins predicted to sweep the Rangers, and it's not impossible right now because they are leading the series 3-0. So
I call it a win.
You know what? Close. I'm mostly there. The other thing on my political campaign of home runs are always so much fun. Point number 1A now officially infield home runs are a different kind of exciting because then there's usually a scramble, and run. And that's my description of an infield home run.
Well, because normally an infield home run only happens when the defense makes some stupid blunder. But that doesn't mean it's less fun.
Look into the sun, or oh no, we bumper cars, or oh we just miss. I don't know. So many things have to happen that it's just score.
I will make this about the Phillies now because I make everything about the Phillies. At least I'm self-aware about it. Yesterday, actually, Saturday, the Phillies honored the late president and CEO of the team, David Montgomery, and they renamed a part of their ballpark Monty's Corner, because when he designed Citizens Bank Park, there was a certain thing where he was like, I want this wall to be angled weirdly because it will theoretically generate more excitement by generating inside the park home runs. And then they played an incredible highlight, which JT hit a ball off of it and scored an inside the park home run. So I agree that not just because of that random aside of being able to tell you that there's now a Monty's Corner and that's fun. Inside the park home runs are a lot of fun. Also, that sentence is a mouthful. All right, fun fact. This week's MLB Series of the Week, I really struggled to pick them. So Voiceover Man helped me out, and he is the person who selected our series this week, which
He's
means
a real
I cannot
person.
be... Yeah, he is a real person, not some AI-generated bot who does our voiceover. So I went through all the first half of the week, series of the week, and I specifically told Voiceover Man, really don't want to make it Phillies Braves. And we went through all the series, and he goes, you're being silly. The series of the week is Phillies Braves. So we're doing Phillies at Braves Tuesday through Thursday. And here's some thoughts and feelings. Well, here are some thoughts. I'll end with my feelings. So here, if we were talking about any other series, this is what I would tell you. I would tell you the Phillies are 6-4 going into this series. The Braves are 5-5. It's likely going to be Wheeler and Nola Wednesday, Thursday. So we get, the first two starters. I have no idea who's starting Tuesday. It might be a bullpen day. Who knows? The Braves, I wrote here the Phillies are lucky because I look at everything from a Phillies perspective that they're missing Sale. So we don't have to face the ace. Where's my Wheelert? That was dumb. I've been so good.
Wheelert.
Thank you.
Wheelert.
Yep. The Phillies are missing Sale, which is great because it's their ace. I think they're going to play Holmes, Fried, and Sallenbach, who are all having good seasons because the Braves are somehow incapable of having bad pitching even when all their pitchers are out. I don't know. I don't understand it. I hate the Braves. So that's what I would tell you about it with a little flair. The reality is I'm just really stressed and I need the Phillies to not be swept. As long as they win one, I'm cool. That's great. No sweep is what I'm rooting for over here. So with that dramatic, really, Voiceover Man was like, it is the best series of the week, but also you're going to create better content because you're going to be stressed. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So there you go.
And I feel stressed predicting anything that relates to Brianna's emotions. Then it just adds to what I'm betting on happening. Okay, is this a 3-game series? Am I gonna it's okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh.
In Atlanta.
Well, I also don't want Atlanta to win for Mets reasons. I'm going Phillies 2-1 just because I'm manifesting everything out loud. And because I also just want to say the alternative. So we're going to be slightly positive right now.
That would be good for the Mets. All right. Our back half of the week, series of the week, is Houston at Baltimore. So Houston are 9-1 in their last 10. With this massive streak they're on, they have firmly cemented their lead over the hemorrhaging Seattle Mariners. Wasn't that a fun story while it lasted that the Seattle Mariners were good and going to win their division? Well, nope. Houston now has figured their crap out, and they have a 4-game lead on them. Oh, it just makes me so sad because I hate Houston. Well, they're traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore is a really solid 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're, depending on what day you look, they're essentially tied with the Yankees. Right now, as of recording this, they're a game back. The Yankees have the best record in all of baseball right now, and Baltimore's 1 game behind them in the division. So just for context, I'm so excited to see the ending of this division. It's going to be wild and crazy. So 2 very hot team, really good team going head to head in Baltimore.
2-1 Baltimore, home field advantage, and just going for longevity, and maybe Houston's hot streak will just kind of fizzle out, which I think we'd all celebrate that, except for Houston.
Yeah. Really don't like that they've figured it out.
No. Yeah, what she did twice. What is this? Don't do this.
I spent a lot of time going, I think she's just waving. And then I was like, no, that's a snake.
This is not how people wave. This is a snake hand.
We can go back in a couple weeks to binging so much Olympic-style content, except it's the Paralympics this time. So this week and next week, Nicole is going to be giving us great storylines, things to follow heading into the Paralympics. So we can all become just as obsessed and watch hours and hours of NBC's content, essentially. So I think today we have 4 massive storylines to go through. Did I count? Am I good at was my counting correct?
Yeah, there's story. Yeah, three sports and then an additional fun story at the end.
something that fascinates me about the Paralympics is, of course, there are sports in the Olympics that we're used to seeing, but they're going to be slightly modified and different. So I think a great place to start is I want to hear all about track and field. So what should we watch for in track and field for the Paralympics this year?
Woohoo! So everyone loved the Olympics this year, and if everyone's sad about the Olympics, guess what? You can support further athletes that also have to train incredibly hard, have very similar qualifying and world championships, all types of lineups when going into Paris. One of the athletes that I really want to bring attention to this year, and has been one of my favorites, is Hunter Woodall. He's a 25-year-old double amputee sprinter from the U.S. He's absolutely huge on TikTok. He actually also sells he has his own company called Giant Hoodies that sells extra large hoodies just because they're super fun.
I need one.
Oh, I have 2 of them. They're literally the best. So Hunter Woodall at the last 2020 Paralympics won the bronze medal in the men's 400-meter sprint. So he is a double leg amputee. So he has 2 prosthetic legs. And last year at the World Men's Championship, he actually had to sit out of the finals because he had an issue with one of his prosthetics. And there's this devastating TikTok, and it was kind of how he had to end his entire season. So he's in this big mental comeback space. Tara, his wife, just won a gold medal in the long jump at the Olympics, and he was there supporting her for that. Comes back last week and he announces that he has COVID. So I went into a panic mode of Hunter Woodall's possibility of going to the Paralympics, but he has posted a video as of this morning that he's back in training after not running for 6 days. He will be, as he's saying, I'm not participating at the Paralympics, I'm competing at the Paralympics. So Hunter Woodall,
you just sent me on a roller coaster of emotions there.
And that is the roller coaster of emotions that I have been going through in this last week. So Hunter Woodall seems like all is good to go about returning back to Paris for the Paralympics and really proving himself after the really unfortunate year last year. So para archery. I love watching archery in the traditional Olympics, but then particularly within the Paralympics, it's a whole different realm of things. It's actually been an activity at every single Paralympics, and kind of what you were talking to before, that there needs to be certain adjustments, obviously, at the Paralympics. It's not just always going to be your traditional bow and arrow experience. So the Paralympics actually has a specific part of the committee that evaluates the different classifications on each athlete's impairment of where it is, what it is, and if they're missing any type of thing, they can make sort of adjustments. So that could be a different type of bow. Some athletes, instead of will pull back the bow with either their mouth, and there'll be a specific guard. There's a female athlete that uses only her toes and her feet. So it's a whole different level of dexterity and flexibility. And and you'll see people basically, there'll be different classifications based on if, an athlete's impairment is on their sight, whether it's within their arms or their legs or anything like that. So there's different classifications that way. Right now, what you need to know really looks like China's going to be the heavy metal carrying this year in the para archery. Wu Chuyan and Wu Yang seem to be the heavy favorites here and have had a very successful year thus far. But definitely a really unique type of athlete you'll be able to see within para archery.
So, quick question.
Yes.
So when you're saying there's these different styles and classifications, are all the people in the same classification competing with each other alone, or are they competing across the different styles?
I believe it's siloed differently depending on wherever your classification falls. So there's certain different areas of competing. So it's not just overall. Yeah.
Oh, so many medals to be given. That's fun.
So many medals to begin with. There's basically a chart of a human body, and it highlights the different areas of, and then that's basically how they're all classified in different ways. So I'm sure it's gets a lot more detailed and intense of that classification, but there was all these different charts and breakdowns of how they do all these different classifications. One of the most unbelievable stories that we need to bring attention to, para canoe. Para canoe was added to the Paralympics in Rio of 2016, and this was an incredible opportunity for one I need to bring attention to, Emma Wiggs. She's from Great Britain. In 2012, she was the captain of the sitting volleyball team, and then decided to jump and pivot to sitting canoe. So in the same year
Jeez, people are too annoyingly talented.
Like, what?
That's incredible.
Right?
Like, I just want to like be able to run a mile. Like, and people, you know, volleyball to canoe, no big deal. Let's go compete for an Olympic medal. That's awesome.
Yeah. So from 2012 was the captain of the sitting like volleyball team at the Paralympics. In 2013, won the gold for the World Championships of the sitting canoe. So literally within a year was like already taking over and becoming a world championship of the sport. Came in 2016, got the gold medal. She currently has 2 gold and 1 silver medal. Because then participated again in Tokyo. Just crazy. Absolutely insane to like be able, just like the mentality of being able to like totally flip-flop, and again like that type, you know,
and then
had no expectations of being, it competed at that level, not expecting to like kind of come in and being as successful as she was and continues to be. Like, you know, I don't think anyone ever plans of not only switching, becoming a professional athlete is one thing, then also being able to participate at such a high level in 2 different types of sports is like basically unheard of. It is so beyond human. Like, again, I would love to be able to just run a mile without walking, and I can't do that.
So you said paracanoe was added in Rio 2016. Are there any new sports we should expect this year in the Paralympics?
Sadly, nothing new. However, from Tokyo, we did have badminton and taekwondo added, so those are the 2 newest. But nothing brand new coming into the Paralympics this year, but definitely plenty of fun options and things to consider. And if you're also looking for additional ways to continue to support Paralympians, fun fact, Flava Flav continuing to like show up and be #1 hype man. There's been several GoFundMes for different Paralympians just raising funds about getting to Paris, and just, I mean, like all of these additional things are very expensive, and a lot of these people also have to work and act like normal people and not just be Olympians. So Flava Flav has been very vocal about that and resharing different GoFundMe links for different families and different athletes that are participating in the Paralympians, and a lot of them are reaching their goal like very, very quickly because of the eyes that he's spreading, the eyes that he's putting and sharing all of this, these different stories in front of. So shout out Flava Flav for just kind of continuing to be the world's #1 sports hype man.
All right. Well, reminder, we'll be back with more Paralympic storylines next week. And then, of course, we will be covering and obsessing over them like we did with the Olympics, because it's once every 4 years. This is exciting.
Football. We're getting so close to football. Whee!
So we're doing the AFC South today. We do the AFC North next week. And then we wrap this all up with the AFC East the week the NFL starts.
That's like this many fingers. That's so soon.
Eagles are going to be in Brazil.
No, well, the NFL preseason previewing that we've been doing has been really great. I mean, not that I needed more hyping up for the NFL season, but it's been doing a really fantastic job of getting me hyped for the NFL season. So if this is the first time that you were tuning into our NFL preseason previews, we've been going through every single division in the NFL leading up to the NFL season and going through every single team. And Briana basically gives out her vibes and feelies on a scale of 1 to 10 of how worried she would be, 1 being the most worried, right? I do this every single week.
Yes.
Doing the most worried, most anxious, most freaking out if these teams were to play the Philadelphia Eagles. So number 1, we're freaking out in full on panic mode. Number 10, we're cool, calm, and collected. So today we are doing the AFC South. So Texans, Jaguars, Colts, and the Titans. How interesting, thrilling division we are going into today.
I hear your sarcasm, but by the end of this NFL preview, I'm going to convince you and anyone else that this is a very entertaining division.
Entertaining? I like that phrasing because it doesn't necessarily lean to the positive or the negative of the performance of any of these teams. It's just entertaining and interesting.
Yes. Well, I think in the NFL, the biggest insult I could give your team is that I'm bored. Mm-hmm. If there is nothing to say about you, that is, like, as a fan, that would be dreadful. Yeah, I don't feel that way about any of these teams. They'll definitely be entertaining.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's start off with the Texans.
Yeah. The shocking division winners of last year, Houston Texans. So a reminder, the way I look at how good a NFL team is I look at the offensive line and the defensive line, because if your lines are great, everything else will work itself out, plus the quarterback. So we're going to be looking at and discussing PFF's rankings of both of those units. It's just one ranking scale, but I like to be able to week, making sure we're consistent, looking at the same rankings to be able to compare. So Houston Texans, I think CJ Stroud is that guy. Like, I think he is incredible. PFF ranks him number 10 on their quarterbacks, and they even admitted this feels really high. But the reason I am all in on CJ Stroud after looking at last season, and actually when you look down and break down his numbers, it's not that impressive, actually. Like, his raw numbers are kind of, like you're a good quarterback, but he was a rookie. And he's playing behind what's going to be ranked this year going into the season, PFF's number 22 offensive line. And it wasn't that much better last year. So to me, that tells me that CJ Stroud is as incredible as we all thought he was last year. That doesn't mean, though, that he couldn't possibly have a sophomore year step back where the offense, they make it more complicated for him. He has more to learn. Also, most importantly, other teams now have a ton of tape on him, so he's not going to surprise anyone. I think there was a good chunk of last year where he went into the game and there wasn't enough tape on him, and the teams were like, oh, yeah, you did that thing. We didn't think you could do that thing. There's going to be none of that this year.
Now they know the things that he can do.
Right.
Relatively.
Yeah, and he's playing behind a pretty mediocre to bad offensive line, but at least that's not inconsistent. Last year, it was completely injury-plagued. So Tunsil is incredible, but the rest of the line around Tunsil is inexperienced and young. So that means that they could be better than 22 this year, but PFF can't put them above that point. I think CJ Stroud is going to make them look better than 22, but if you actually look at the line play, it's going to not be great.
Almost like imagine what he would be like with like an actual solid O-line.
Yeah. Scary. I'm glad it's in the AFC. So, looking at the defensive line, though, they have the 10th ranked, according to PFF, defensive line. They have incredible edge pressure with Anderson and Danielle Hunter, who is a new free agency acquisition for the team. But there's a lot of questions about the interior pressure. But essentially, PFF believes that their edge pressure is going to be strong enough that it's okay that they're not going to be able to get any interior pressure, and that's why they're placing them as a top 10 unit. Really, I look at this and the whole division as a whole, and as long as CJ Stroud doesn't regress, based on everything we're going to talk about with the rest of the teams, this team should be competitive for repeating as division winners. Now, there's one other team in here that I think should be competitive with them, and we'll talk about them in a bit, but I think this year, like, if you're a Texans fan, it should be about, okay, let's make sure CJ Stroud isn't a flash in the pan quarterback. And after looking through it, I don't think he's going to be, but I don't know. What do we all know? Like, who knows? Like, the NFL's weird. Like, weirder things have happened.
Yeah, someone could be like a total sleeper in this league.
So for all of these reasons, on my stress scale, I only gave them a 6.
Okay.
Their offensive line just isn't great. I think CJ Stroud is going to continue to have moments that impress, but if the Eagles were playing them, like, I put them in the same category as Seattle and the Miami Dolphins. Like, I'm going to be stressed because I'm me, but I would be able to convince myself throughout the week that the Eagles can and definitely should be winning this game.
Yeah, like your defense will be able to take this on and be totally fine.
Right. And maybe not totally fine. Like, I think CJ Stroud will have a moment or two every game, but I really think the Eagles' offensive line would be fine against their defensive line. And it just, especially because the strength of their line, because again, evaluating through the Eagles' lens, the strength of their offensive line is their edge rushers. And the Eagles have 2 of the best tackles in Mailata and Lane Johnson in the entire league, which is why they are in the top 3 ranked offensive line. So to me, I'm always more worried when a defensive line is strong in the interior, which is the weaker and more unknown part of the Eagles offensive line. You're telling me you're going to rush Lane Johnson, like the greatest right tackle of all time. And that, like, I'm it just makes me less nervous. So, like, yeah, it's a great unit, but it's not I really think the reality, though, is the game would be relatively high scoring and it would be entertaining. But I would go the difference between 5 and above and 5 and below. 5 and above, I'm like, I will go into the game not knowing if the Eagles will win. I'll be a little stressed. Like 6 and below, I will have convinced myself by kickoff that the Eagles should win the game. And if the Eagles don't win the game, I'm mad at the Eagles for it.
Yeah, that's a fair turn. Yeah. Jacksonville Jaguars.
This disappointed me because shocking, not shocking. Like I'm still a huge fan of Dougie P. I will love him till the end of time because he brought the Eagles a Super Bowl. Weirdly, I'm gonna start with the quarterback, and which is not the order I've normally been doing these. So Trevor Lawrence. He's very slowly slipping into the category we talked about with Derek Carr and even Herbert, where I'm like, whatever you think is probably right. Like, but the problem with Trevor Lawrence is this offensive line he has to play behind. Like, yeah, no wonder he looks awful. But like, he was injured all last year, but he played through it. So of course he's going to look bad. He did rank top 5 in big time throws, but he also had 24 turnover worthy plays with a total of 21 total turnovers in the year. Now, I will say the conversion of 21 of his 24 turnover worthy plays, like that conversion rate of turnovers is insanely high. Like it basically said he got 0 luck.
Yeah. That's ugly. That's an ugly stat.
Yeah. So if his luck swings a little a couple people drop some of those interceptions they caught last year, which is totally normal. If he fumbles the ball a couple fewer times and regresses to the mean, these numbers don't look that bad. The problem is his offensive line that ranks 23 in the league, according to PFF, can't keep him upright. So he really is living in Herbert hell, in my opinion. But for some reason, everyone is like, Herbert's a great quarterback. And it's like, totally everything around him's fault. But Trevor Lawrence is like, he probably is a good quarterback, right. But like, and then no one talks about how everything around him's a little bit of a disaster.
Like he's supposed to be good.
Right. I think the reality with Trevor Lawrence is it seems like his decision-making isn't quite there. And again, I'm not going to bring Herbert into it anymore, but I don't think his decision-making, like, again, I really think these quarterbacks should be talked about more in similar conversations than they are. And you can yell at me in the comments if you disagree, and I'm fine with that. But I'm telling this to Nicole, who I know will agree with me because we're both pretty low on Herbert. I mean, I think he's a big, like, he has an arm. Those 33 big-time throws being top 5 in the league, if he could just be upright for a little bit longer and feel confident behind his offensive line, I think he would be better. But unfortunately, that's not going to be this year. They did bring in center Mitch Moore in free agency, and they're hoping that will shore up a line that wasn't great last year. And they're not awful, but they're, 23 in the league. So, but if that center acquisition works out, I think they could at least maybe keep Lawrence from having to scramble forever. Their defensive line ranks 26. I have absolutely nothing to say about it. I really think that, like, I'm pretty low on the Jaguars this year. They get a 7 from me, but that makes me sad for Dougie P.
I got nothing to say about the defense. I'm not that scared. I'm at a 7.
Right. The whole thing makes me sad for Dougie P, and it means we're going to have to repeat the conversation that we have every year about, like, I guess Trevor Lawrence isn't that good, but is he really not that good, or is just the team around him not that great? Just
not that great. Yeah. Like, again, we saw what he could do. Like, not saying college football is the same as NFL at all, but yeah, like, when he has an out of this world O-line, like he did at Clemson, like, he can get some stuff done.
Right. He has all of the tangible skills to be a great quarterback. I think the problem is the expectations for the Jaguars, because Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence, it's the same thing as the Chargers, where you come into the season. Like, I think people who aren't digging into the offensive line and the defensive line numbers like I'm doing every week here are coming in like the Jaguars should be better this year. And I'm like, I don't think they will be. I think they're going to win. They're going to do the thing where they're going to win a game that they probably, like, on paper shouldn't win somewhere in the first quarter of the season. And everyone's going to be like, are the Jaguars fixed? And it's going to be like, no, because you can't win with an offensive line and a defensive line that is this poor.
Indianapolis Colts.
All right, remember when I alluded to, I think there's a team that could compete for the division? This is the team.
Interesting.
Right. So I think it's again, this division I'm starting with the quarterbacks, which is weird. So their quarterback, Richardson, he was injured after 4 games last season. So, he had a concussion and a sprain that eventually needed surgery. He is currently ranked 1, according to PFF, at 24, 1 above Bryce Young. So the caveat when we talk to Bryce Young of the Panthers is there's absolutely no way to evaluate his offensive season because he was just behind basically no offensive line. And the difference between Bryce Young and Richardson is Bryce Young, we couldn't evaluate a season because we had to watch him be awful behind a team that is awful. Richardson, we can't evaluate a season because he played 4 games of his rookie season. So I understand why he's not ranked any higher because there's no information. But smart people, smart NFL experts who break down film, say that there's high potential and he has a great arm. And if he could just have a solid, what is really his rookie season this year, I think this Colts team is going to end up at least competing for the division win. And the reason for that is they have the number 3 ranked offensive line in the league. They're only behind the Eagles and the Lions. They're returning, and they're returning their entire line from last year. That was stellar last year. And they're putting what they're hoping is their future quarterback behind it. So he's going to have a lot of time upright in the pocket to learn how to play NFL football and get it right. That also means, though, that if he goes 4, 5, 6 weeks being absolutely dreadful, we know that it's Richardson who's dreadful. So that's why I started with him. Right. I started with him because everything on this Colts team is positioned for Richardson to come in and have a good situation and for this team to surprise people.
He has the recipe for potential success. He just needs to cook it right. He
just needs to do it. So if the Colts are right that he is an incredible quarterback, then this team is going to be good. We're going to be having the conversations around Richardson that we all had about Stroud last year. And I'm not saying they're the same quarterbacks. And I think when we were talking Stroud just a second ago, I'm like, hey, he's doing all this despite his offensive line not being great. Richardson's coming into a really good situation behind an offensive line with talent on that offense as a whole. I think there's high upside potential because of that.
Not impossible.
Right.
Yeah, the unknown here for QB from last year, not having that just those 4 games. Yeah, it's basically a rookie year. It's definitely to the good problem to have now.
Right. Now let's look at the defensive line. They're ranked number 7 in the league.
Dang.
I'm going to take a quote directly from PFF here because I thought it was a great summary. The Colts have a very solid group of defensive linemen, arguably without the star power of the teams above them. So they don't have a Micah Parsons on the line, essentially, to just draw away double teams. But everyone on their line is so great. And just because there's not the star power of the name that's like a common household name, collectively, they're all good enough to be 7th in the league.
It's almost like that's the recipe that there is a name waiting to be created and it's the opportunity for there to become a guy. And
it's arguably, in my opinion, going to be DeForest Buckner, which is probably you as an NFL junkie. You're like, oh yeah, I know who that is. That's the name. I think this Colts team, if they are good and they're winning games, because all the pieces are in place for this team to be good. I'm a firm believer that Shane Steichen is an incredible coach. He's at least an incredible offensive mastermind. So it's all of this is in place. And I think if they're winning games, that means they're being put on primetime more. They're being discussed more in national news. DeForest Buckner is going to become the name of this line. It's just, how much attention did you pay to the Colts last year?
None. I definitely did not.
Right. They were pretty good for most of last year at points too, because they just didn't have a quarterback. So
and that's when the story falls off.
Yep. So that's why they're my sneaky dark horse, and they're getting the highest stress grade of all the teams in this division out of 5, which puts them in the same category to me as the Chargers and the Jets, teams with incredibly high ceilings and incredibly low floors, because you really can't win in this league without a functioning quarterback. So yeah, if Richardson ends up completely sucking, this team's not going to be good despite the fact that they have the number 3 offensive line and the number 7 defensive line. But if he is serviceable, this team will be very good.
I can't wait to see like a distribution chart of all of your rankings, because there is such a theme, like where each number, whenever they fall.
If anyone should head over to YouTube, where I have a bottom ticker of all the other teams, so you can, while we're talking about this, be like, who'd she rank this ranking again? And It's all at the bottom of the screen.
And wrapping it up, Tennessee Titans.
Nicole, do you remember who the new coach is of the Tennessee Titans? Because I didn't.
No, who's the new coach of the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, shocking. They've fired Vrabel, which just feels wrong because he is the Tennessee Titans to me. But it's
I remember there being the firing, like,
yeah,
towards the end, and I don't remember the hiring.
Yeah, Brian Callahan. The season preview has really been good for me, because all these things I remembered when the season ended, and but I forgot about the firing, because in my head I'm like, Titans Vrabel, and then I looked it up and I was like, Titans not Vrabel anymore. Got it. Okay. Oops. The Titans confuse me. The Titans are trying to win. I would be shocked. If there's ever a team that needed to be in like quasi rebuild mode, like I don't believe in like what the Panthers are doing in like you can't tank in the NFL in my opinion, but like the Titans should not be coming into the season like, yeah, we want to win, but they are. And it's going to be hard because they have, according to PFF, the number 30th ranked offensive line. So they used their 11th overall pick in 23 to draft a guard. They drafted an offensive lineman 7th in the draft this year. They signed a center in free agency. So I've called their offensive line that's still ranked 30th despite all of that. They tried. And which honestly, as a fan of a team, like it's good. Now, if their two draft picks, like using first round draft picks on linemen, again, there's a reason we're talking about the offensive and defensive line here. This is how I believe teams win. I really think if those young players get better performance, there's an opportunity for this offensive line to not be one of the worst in the league by the end of the season. But PFF's not counting on it.
Picking up a center in free agency is not like that's necessarily going to be rock star, most stellar available center that you could have had.
Yeah, their defensive line on the other side is ranked 21st. So again, bottom half of the league, but not 30. Jeffrey Simmons is an outstanding player on the interior pressure, but he doesn't really have a lot of help around him. Again, they have their rookie defensive tackle, Sweat, who they just drafted, and experts are saying he's really flashing in like preseason and training camp land. So there's potential there. And I think PFF seems to rank once you get into the 20s, they're ranking people based on like what they believe potential of the young players to be. So them ranking this defensive line in the high 20s like shows that, their experts believe that they could start to get better. But just again, this team's trying to win this year, and that's confusing.
Also, like, what else are they gonna say?
And then last but not least, their quarterback, Will Levis. Can we just talk about the Mayo stuff?
Mayo cologne. There's a Mayo cologne that
this is incredible activation by Hellman's Mayo. Like I'm so impressed.
It's so gross. I have so many questions. First off, why did Will ever put like mayo in his coffee as a creamer? Like what? No, hard no on that. But how it eventually gets tied to becoming a fragrance, I find really random and interesting. Incredible. And like who threw that idea out there, and then they said yes.
I'm just so glad they did. Like I like when marketing is weird and
super weird. And
it's so great.
Bought it, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, for the actual on the field analysis of Will Levis, again, I'm going to read this directly from PFF because I thought they summarized it so well that I can't do any better. Quote, he has the arm talent to be a good starter in this league. He just needs to know when to rip it and perhaps more importantly, when not to.
when to rip it and when not to.
Yeah, I thought the phrasing was great, so I was going to read the quote directly. But yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be a crop of young quarterbacks in the league because everyone's trying to find a quarterback. Like that's the name of the NFL in the offseason is, do you have a quarterback? Yes, no. And if the answer is maybe, the answer is also no. But I think Will Levis is young. He's entering his second season, and if he can learn, great. I think he's going to struggle too behind this offensive line.
And if not, he's got that Hellman's Mayo deal.
Yeah. Good for him. Yeah. For all those reasons, the Titans get an 8.
Yeah, I figured I definitely knew we were obviously in that bottom half for the clear reasons, but then also as soon as it was like, this team should not be saying that they're going to win.
Right. Well, I think that the review of them just now, like the preview, would have been less negative. Like I would have said more positive, like rookie quarterback growing things. If the public like PR push is that they're trying to win and they're not rebuilding and they're making these decisions that are very win now, like I think they still would have ended in an 8, but I would have probably talked about them more like I was talking about the Bears, like then. But both of those are still 8s, but I couldn't put them on the same tier as Denver and Carolina as a 9.
Well, only 2 left. 2 previews left. Very, very exciting. And then football!
It's time for the final buzzer.
Maybelline has become the New York City Marathon's first cosmetics partner with a dedicated cheer zone, Maybelline booths at the expos before the race, and their own racing team. But I absolutely loved what Jessica Feinstein, their senior VP of marketing, said when talking about this partnership. No other makeup brand could survive the 26.2-mile long wear challenge. We'll be demonstrating that. Showing the product performance is super important to us. What a perfect deal and like an amazing marketing opportunity.
The Atlanta Falcons bolster their defense in a big way by signing Simmons and trading for pass rusher Matthew Judon.
AP Top 25 college football rankings have officially been released, with the top 4 including Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. Miami Hurricanes ranked 19. Happy to be ranked, and in Cam Ward we trust.
Go Canes. Peacock is launching a docuseries following exclusively Notre Dame this series, so this is your yearly reminder that Notre Dame is the only college football team that has its own media rights deal that's worth more than most of the other entire conference broadcast deals. The first 2 episodes of this docuseries is going to be premiering August 29th.
Tyrese Halliburton from the men's USA basketball team had a photo shoot with his dog and his gold medal, which I think anyone that has won any Olympic gold medal should be required to do this.
Let's stay on that same topic. Yes, gold medals and dogs, because men's shot put gold medalist Ryan Corsair did a photo shoot with what he calls his training partner, and he's a real good boy.
Our favorite Olympians from Paris are making their rounds on late night TV. Steven Nidorsic and Ilona Maher have been making their way through all of the NBC late night television, doing some really fun, incredible content. Ilona also even celebrated her birthday with Seth Meyers on late night TV.
In a depressing fashion for Vikings fans, preseason standout JJ McCarthy is having season-ending meniscus surgery, which is just like, oof. I know every team thinks they're the unluckiest, but kind of feel really bad for Minnesota here.
And rounding out the final buzzer with a really wholesome story, we didn't get to talk about all of the sad things happening with Jordan Child's bronze medal currently, but Flava Flav, keeping spirits high, got a custom bronze clock made for Jordan, and it is sick, and was like really quick order.
He's Flavor Flav. He can do
Flava Flav. He's
I
definitely got a clock guy.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another sports show. Thank you to our co-creators, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein. Thank you to the four-legged executive producers and me, Voiceover Man. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Make our day by leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice and a comment on YouTube. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. We'll be back to review the playbook every week. See you next Tuesday.
Today was another sports show, and it's ready for football season.